From the PEP Radio Newsroom, this is the evening news blast for September 23, 2025. President Donald Trump addressed the United Nations General Assembly today in an hour-long diatribe, complaining about how inept the UN is, how wars could be prevented if only they did their job, and how the UN escalator and the teleprompter he used to deliver his speech were broken. During his rambling speech, he referred to the massive improvements in the U.S. because of his tariff and immigration policies, and he spoke about how climate change is a hoax. That is a lot to unpack. Staff and visitors to the United Nations institutions know full well the issue. In recent months, UN offices in New York and Geneva have intermittently turned off elevators and escalators as part of steps to save money because of a liquidity crisis at the world body. That's due in part to delays in funding from the United States, which is the top donor of the world body. In his speech to the UN General Assembly, Trump broke from his prepared remarks to bemoan the inoperable escalator and a defective teleprompter and say he's never gotten much from the United Nations despite its potential. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle, he mused, chopping the air with his hand. So what really happened? Well, a UN official said the United Nations understands that someone from the president's party who ran ahead of him inadvertently triggered the stop mechanism on the escalator. And the official, speaking on condition of anonymity because of the sensitivity of the issue, said it was the White House, not the UN, that was operating the teleprompter for the president. Former State Department spokesperson and Deputy U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Ned Price, dismissed the address entirely. Let's not pretend this is a foreign policy speech or dignify it by calling it one. This is basically MAGA Mad Libs, he wrote on X. Trump is speaking to his political base, hitting each of his campaign trail hits, while addressing a room of leaders who'd rather be just about anywhere else. Senator Chris Van Hollen, the Democrat from Maryland, said that the president just embarrassed our country in front of the entire world at the UN. We heard America in retreat. For all our partners who still believe in the rule of law, human rights, and democracy, we need you to step up and lead. It will demand all our collective action. So what are our criticisms? Well, first, let's address climate change. According to NASA, global warming is the long-term heating of the Earth's surface observed since the pre-industrial period between 1850 and 1900 due to human activities, primarily fossil fuel burning, which increases heat-trapping greenhouse gas levels in the Earth's atmosphere. This term is not interchangeable with the term climate change. Since the pre-industrial period, human activities are estimated to have increased Earth's global temperature an average of about 1 degree Celsius, that's 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit, a number that is currently increasing by more than 0.2 degrees Celsius, or 0.36 degrees Fahrenheit per decade. The current warming trend is unequivocally the result of human activity since the 1950s, and it is proceeding at an unprecedented rate over millennia. In fact, if you take a look at the graph on the NASA website, you'll see that it's spiking fairly rapidly. We withdrew from the World Health Organization. To be clear, under the Trump regime, vaccines have faced significant setbacks at the hands of Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who implemented cutbacks to vaccine research and has stymied the work of the CDC. Now, by withdrawing from the World Health Organization, the U.S. is further stunting progress globally at wiping out vaccine-preventable illnesses such as polio, COVID-19, and measles. Also under the Trump administration, the U.S. Agency for International Development has essentially been shuttered and shifted to the State Department. USAID helped fight starvation, provided vaccinations and other medications, had programs for sexual health, and aided with emergency situations such as in Myanmar, in which people suffered from a cholera outbreak following a natural disaster. The bottom line of this embarrassing speech at the UN is that he alienated allies. He made clear to the world that the U.S. cannot be relied on for assistance during times of disaster and starvation, and that while Trump claims to be a peacekeeper, his inept foreign policy decisions have worsened situations in places such as the ongoing civil war in Sudan, simply because he wanted to roll back aid that President Joe Biden had promised. That's the news at this hour. If you're watching our news videos on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Up next, we have the Meadville area weather forecast here on PEP Radio.